Good morning to everyone online. Good morning to you. Yeah. Good morning, good morning. How many do we have online?
36.
36, okay. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Galilee, if you go out here between the two buildings, between the workshop and the barn-like building, and you head down that trail past the Galilee Gardens to a T-junction, if you go left, you go into a beautiful pine forest. And it's one of the, I think, the last old stands of pine in Ontario. So that's worth a walk. And then if you go right, you get down to the beach. And then I don't know what you do at a beach, but you figure that out. Anyway, it's very, very beautiful. So it's good to walk. It's good to get some space. And I don't know, I think all of us who go into that pine forest are struck by the silence. So I mean, just going in there and hugging a tree probably is a nice practice. So, all of you have experience in meditation, I assume. And I hope that you all have a grounding in the Four Noble Truths. I always assume that on a retreat. And if you haven't, then I would suggest you read Ajahn Sumedho's Four Noble Truths if you go to the Amaravati website. It's a good basic understanding. The kind of models of meditation that I prefer are ones which emphasize awareness rather than the objects of awareness. So meditations which talk about building things up or attaining things have never appealed to me. Meditations which talk about letting go and being, they've always appealed to me. So that's where I'm kind of coming from. It's not absolute. Each of us is trying to figure this out in our own ways. So in terms of the analogies and models and metaphors that talk more about emphasizing awareness, you have many. I think most of you who practice with me know I like I like to think about background and foreground. So I'll say, listen to sound. Notice that sound is moving and that awareness is unmoving. If I emphasize the sound and I ask you, what's the loudest sound you can hear now? So I would say, oh, it's the air conditioner over there or the fan over there. But if you don't emphasize the sound and you let the sound come to you without a need to figure it out, reference it, go out to it, then the listening is receptive. And then that takes you to the silence of awareness. So what I'm doing, I'm emphasizing the awareness as opposed to the object. And you can do that with visually. You can look at these oak trees here that we all loved so much, that were topped. And you can look at them and say, how sad, or great, there's more oak furniture in the world, or whatever, in whatever way you want to perceive that. Okay, so there's an engagement with the object. We do that. But also I can look at the object and kind of just let my attention just let any visual object come to me. And there's a different feeling. And there I'm emphasizing awareness. I could see someone coming into the meditation very noisily, or I could hear them coming to the meditation hall very noisily. Is that an English word? And then that sound, because I'm trying to do samadhi, I'm trying to focus on my breath, I'm trying to concentrate, then the sound of the loud person coming into my space would do what? Say, God, they're so heedless. They're so pathetic. Right? Then I'm emphasizing the object. I'm both emphasizing the object of that I'm trying to hold on to, but also that I'm emphasizing the object of sound. And then I'm out into the objective world. But if I'm aware, I say, oh, annoyance feels this way. And that is a mental object, an emotional object, a more complex structure. Same principle. Oh, annoyance feels this way. Now, the thing about annoyance, it has a lot of craving in it. It has a lot of wanting. I want the room to be silent, and I don't want this person in my life. But that's about the object. Now, awareness can know that. Awareness can know this is irritating. But here it's more complex because of the wanting. Now, if I notice that wanting, and I'm patient with being aware of the wanting that has arisen because of the loud sound, and I'm willing to wait, just willing to wait and observe and witness and be, then that wanting ceases, even though the noise might be the same. And that's the definition of nibbana, the cessation of wanting. Or, put other ways, the emphasizing of the space, awareness, silence of knowing. If I emphasize the wanting, then the person's going to come into the room again. And they're going to come in every day on the retreat. So day 4, I mean, I'm facetious and exaggerating, but day 4, imagine where my mind's going to be. You know, it'll be a total wreck. And then I'm going to my room. I can't meditate. I'll go to my room, and sure enough, I'll hear them in the hallway. I mean, it does happen, doesn't it? That's why we laugh. So, but if we emphasize awareness, and we do exercise around neutral sense experience, like, say, sound, breath, whatever you want, but keep emphasizing the awareness, then when craving comes up related to wanting or not wanting, and we can know that, then we've strengthened awareness. If we don't know that, we strengthen our attachment to objects. So that's the model I like. So that's many analogies are like the chanting sheet has black typeface, black imagery. I look at the chanting sheet, I absorb into the chanting. That's the object. The white of the page makes the print possible. The white of the page you can't really absorb into, but it's there. It's always there. So the print cannot exist without the white of the page. The experience cannot exist without the space of awareness. Couldn't happen. So if I emphasize the print, I have to. And there's nothing wrong with it, but there is this other possibility of silent witnessing, knowing, awareness. The ocean and the waves in the ocean, foreground, background. You'll probably have your own analogies around that. One of the common analogies in meditation is the water, the beaker of water, which is full of muck. And if you're very, very patient, then the muck will settle down and you'll see the clarity of the water. That's a very common image. And that's too, like background, foreground. So the water itself is clear, and then all the particles in the water are the objects of sense experience. So what, like, if you take that analogy as one for meditation, what do you need to do for the particles to settle? You need to wait, don't you? Just need to wait. So in the beginning of a retreat, you have to wait a lot because there's a lot of particles. And you have to trust. You have to trust. Just trust and awareness. So what kind of particles do you experience? Well, one of the particles you experience is that you fall asleep. You don't experience it actually, you fall asleep. So how can you emphasize awareness in the midst of the nivarana, or the hindrance of falling asleep? And that's a very common one. It's actually a very difficult one to practice with because you just seem to lose the plot, right? So on one hand, if you're so exhausted that you can't stay up, you just need more sleep. Pack it in and get a good rest. And that's not uncommon for the first few days of a retreat. But if that is a kind of chronic problem in your meditation, and this is it's not uncommon among monastics, then it's just become a habit of not really being conscious enough to see the particles, to be the awareness. So what to practice? Well, let's say, like this morning I was sleepy because I've had a kind of a busy time and haven't been sleeping that well. So then I could notice, I could say, oh, there is sleepiness. Simple statement, but that's huge actually. Sometimes people get so habitual in the sleepiness, the bell rings and they think, oh, that was a good meditation. But they're not sure. If you're not sure, then I think you got to consider. So what to do? Well, you have to be more vigorous in some way. Whatever meditation you're using isn't working. So forget about anapanasati, forget what you're doing because it's not working. Don't try to go back to what's pulling you to sleep. Right? In other words, stop meditating. Open your eyes and look around. You can watch other people nodding, you can. Or you can just establish presence. That's all you're doing, presence. And that's the real, I think, entry into the spiritual life is knowing that you know. Knowing that you know. Now, knowing that you know isn't a particular emotional experience, it's just awakeness. And you can know that you feel terrible. You can know that you feel exalted. You can know that you don't want to be here. You can know that you don't want to leave here. Right? Whatever it is. So the knowing isn't an object, it isn't the quality, it is the awakeness of the mind. So you know that you know. So if you make that central and start to trust in that. So you're sitting in meditation and you're doing this, okay, then, okay, I know that I know now. So stop meditating. Now, how am I going to sustain knowing that I know? That's the problem. Well, don't close your eyes. Simple. So you look, no, and it's boring. Nothing more boring than sleepiness. But if you try to get rid of sleepiness, then you have another problem. You have aversion. So you have to establish knowing that you know, and then you have to wait. Knowing that you know, and then you wait, and it keeps coming back, and it keeps coming back, and you keep awakening and awakening. Now that might be 45 minutes of a very boring exercise, and you think, well, I need more coffee. Well, then you can do that too. But what happens if you do that? Then what you've enhanced is awareness. So the experience itself, you might think, oh, I didn't have a good meditation, I was really, really sleepy. That's not the point. It's whatever comes up in the meditation, in the half hour, 45 minutes or whatever, how can you sustain knowing that you know through that particular challenge? So then, if I'm talking about that nivarana, then obviously posture adjustments. So if you just put more emphasis on your neck and head, right? I know that I know my neck feels this way. Just that, and the focus of the eyes, just that. Now you're not trying to just focus on the candle so fiercely that you'll never fall asleep, because that's not mindfulness, that's control. You're not trying to control, we're trying to know the way things are and sustain awareness of change. So the feeling of sleepiness is a changing phenomenon. Comes and it goes, comes and it goes, comes and it goes. Awareness is stillness, quietness, peacefulness, it knows. So you know that you know, and now there's something which is drawing you into sense experience, in this case dullness. And then you keep going back to the knowing. I know that I know, I know that I know, I know that I know. Until you get really good at that nirvana. So I've been practicing a long time. When that nirvana comes, I know what to do. And I say, okay, that's what I do. And so that's the experience. But then the result is very peaceful. The experience is, it is what it is. So the result is because I'm emphasizing awareness. What if it's restlessness? What if it's the other way around? What if you're really craving some kind of entertainment, social media, some horrible news? That would be nice. Something, something to stimulate my mind. Whatever it is. So the mind kind of wants something, and it keeps fidgeting and moving around. There's this problem of sleepiness is not there. You're there. You're there so bad you want to get out. Where sleepiness, you're there so good you don't know you're there, kind of thing. So sleepiness is a different kind of a object, isn't it? It's a complicated object, but its kind of main contours are you don't want to sit still, you want to keep moving, you want to leave the room, you want to try harder. It's got lots of energy in it. So what you need to do is, oh, this is different, it feels this way. Well, what does it feel like? Oh, it feels this way. And then you come back, okay, then what draws me into the restlessness? I look at the clock, how much more time will there be? Oh my God, 45 more minutes. I'm never going to... And the mind starts to think restless thoughts. And then at some point you notice that. You notice that you're thinking in that particular way, and you know that you know. You know that you know. Okay, that's the awakening. That's the nub of liberation, really. Oh, I know that I know. And then the mind starts to churn something up. And this is very important in terms of when life hits you in a way which is very difficult. Like I was talking about this poor woman that lost all her money through this cybercrime. You imagine what that does to the thinking mind. Because the emotions now are going to drive some very, very difficult mind states. What to do? Well, you can keep going back. I know that I know. So it's an involution. This is what they mean by mind knowing mind. You know that you know. And then the mind starts to churn up these thoughts because you feel very threatened or betrayed or whatever. I know that I know. And that's where trust comes in. That's where you need to trust. Because if you trust and you keep coming back to knowing that you know, that horrible situation has less power. It still has power because life is that way, loss is that way. But you have a refuge and you trust in that refuge. I know that I know. So, okay, that's lots of ideas. Let's do a meditation. Stretch your legs a bit if you want, and we'll do a meditation for a while around those ideas.